What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another look at the comic book market. And most of these are CGC 9.8s, but I included a few that were on my watch list because I just wanted to see where they'd end up. So I've got everything from mainly Star Wars books. I've got some Wolverine books, Batman, Amazing Spider-Man, kind of everything in between. But all of these are fairly recent sales on eBay, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to see where prices are. Given that the holidays are kind of come and gone, some of these have bounced off their lows. Star Wars books in general are still relatively doing poorly, which means it's a pretty good time to pick up some of your big Star Wars books if you're a CGC graded Star Wars comic book collector like I am. And one of these I did pick up, so we'll go through that as well as a few other interesting sales. So first one we've got is an Amazing Spider-Man number 50. This was in a 6.5 grade, white pages. This is the first appearance of Kingpin, and I was kind of curious to see if this one would sell because it did look really nice. It was a nice looking copy, very clean looking case. It did sell for $14.15, and I think that's probably about right, just given that this is a very big book, very expensive in higher grades. I have an 8.0 with off-white to white pages in my collection, and when I look at the price I paid versus what this one sold for with white pages, I feel pretty good about that number. But that's a great book, and you know, a lot of those Silver Age Spider-Man books have kind of leveled off. They kind of dropped and then they kind of bounced up just slightly. And, you know, we obviously covered some of the bigger books that sold at Heritage, but I think if you're a big Silver Age Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man comic book collector in kind of these mid grades where the prices are maybe a little more affordable versus like the super high grades. Don't get me wrong, this is still a very expensive book, but you know, this is kind of my sweet spot, is that 6.0 to 8.0 range for a lot of these early Spider-Man books. And, you know, now's a pretty good time, I feel like, for those. Next up was Captain America number 100. Blizzard Comics had this one at auction, and I wanted to kind of track it to see where it sell. It's a great cover with Captain America on the cover there. It's kind of the first issue. They labeled it number 100. The story continues from Tales of Suspense number 99, and so this is Captain America number 100. They kind of retitled it. Great cover though with Black Panther and Captain America, and it was 9.2 with white pages. Now on higher grades, the prices are pretty eye-popping. I mean, I think we just covered one that sold at Heritage for big money. That was a 9.8 grade. This was a 9.2 with white pages, so I was kind of tempted on it because it was in that kind of sweet range there, but I got kind of distracted and started juggling a bunch of other things that I'm looking to add to my collection over the next month, so I couldn't make it happen. But that one did sell for $20.74. I was thinking it would sell sub $2,300, so I was pretty close on my number, but $20.74 took that one home. 9.2 with white pages. This was an interesting one that was on my watch list for a while, and I almost made an offer on it because I thought it was kind of a cool one. This is Detective Comics number 405, the first appearance of the League of Assassins, which obviously they made a big appearance in the first Christopher Nolan Batman movie, The Batman Begins, with what's his name? I forget the actor's name now, but you know, this was kind of an early 1970 Detective Comics book, first appearance of the League of Assassins. I was like, man, that looks really awesome. And what's unique about this one is that this was a factory error double cover. And so you can see right here on the label, double cover. The first cover got an 8.5, which is the outer wrap. The inner cover got a 9.2. And the way CGC works, when you got double covers like this, they put on the label the highest of the two grades. There's triple covers, quadruple covers. I mean, there's all kinds of factory errors out there. And, you know, a 9.2 with white pages, that's a pretty awesome book. And obviously the first appearance of the League of Assassins is a big kind of first appearance. Great cover, Neil Adams cover. And, you know, as you guys know, I'm a big Neil Adams fan. I've got 3 really big ones now, including one I'm going to show you in a second. But this one was tempting. I didn't make an offer on it. It did sell. It was listed for 1,350 Canadian dollars, which is about 1,000 US dollars. I was thinking about making an offer at 800. I assume that's kind of where it sold, somewhere in that ballpark. I forgot to look it up, but just a great Neil Adams cover, and having the first appearance of the League of Assassins on top of that, it was just really tempting, and I didn't do it. But I don't have any factory error double covers like this, and that would have been a really big one to add. But interesting sale there. Here's one I do have in my collection in the exact same page quality and grade. And so I was kind of curious to see where it would shake out on price since I bought mine on Instagram. And this one did sell for $13.77. This is Batman number 232 from 1971. A really iconic cover from Neil Adams and the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul, one of the main villains in the Batman universe. So, same grade, same page quality. I was like, I want to see where this one sells. And it did end up selling for more. Plus, I would have had to have paid sales tax on top of that. It would have cost me over, $1,500 versus the price I paid at $1,300 on Instagram. So very happy with my $1,300 purchase of this book, given what it's done since then. And I just thought it was kind of an interesting comparison sale. But awesome book. Really love having that one in my collection. And if you're looking for that one, 9.2 white pages, $13.77, took that home. But I think if you're patient and you get on Instagram for some of the big comic resellers and brokers out there, I think you can do a lot better than eBay for a lot of these big books. Another one it's on my want list for this year is, and I almost put a bid on it, I just got distracted, and I have a couple of other kind of books I'm juggling right now for my collection. And given how easy it is to find this book, I was like, let's wait. We'll find it later. I did buy a copy on my comic shop. This is Batman Vengeance of Bane Special number 1, but it was right around Christmas, and I was like, you know what? I can't keep this book. I've got to send this as a gift to my brother. So my brother's got the book. It was a brand new graded copy. I paid a little bit more than this one, but this one's also on eBay where you got to pay sales tax. So I think after you factor in sales tax for this copy, I paid almost the exact same amount. I think I paid $340, which is what it would have cost me to buy it here on eBay for including sales tax. So Vengeance of Bane Special number 1, the first origin and first appearance of Bane, another big villain in the Batman universe. Again, this is a fairly hard cardstock cover, so it's easy to get this one in a 9.8. There's hundreds and hundreds of them in a 9.8 out there. So not a hard one to find, but it's just an awesome cover. Origin and first appearance of Bane. And at this price, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's just one of those big villains that from the 1990s, from the 1990s books, you had Bane and you had Harley Quinn as the two big first appearance comics, to my knowledge, from the 90s. I'm sure there's others, but those are the two big ones. So I've got Batman Adventures 12 done with the first appearance of Harley Quinn. And if I'm going to get this one eventually, I've got to get it because I'm kind of doing a first appearance of Batman villains run. And this is a big one that is fairly affordable and fairly easy to find in high grade. So I really wanted to get it, but I decided to pass on this one. My brother's got it, but I don't. So I've got to get it to at least compete with him now. So $310, took that one home plus $20 shipping. Here's another Bane-related book that I want to get, and I almost bid on this one as well. This is a newsstand for Batman 497. This is where Bane breaks Batman's back, and obviously this was depicted in The Dark Knight Rises, the third film in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and it was kind of depicted differently than this, but it was pretty close to how this was depicted, and just an awesome cover. And the direct edition, it's like $70 in a 9.8 because there's hundreds and hundreds of them out there. But the newsstand is a little harder to find and usually goes for in that $225 to $250 range. So if you're looking for that one, that's the one I would get. I would skip the direct completely, get the newsstand edition in a 9.8. Great looking cover though. That's one I definitely would like to get as well. All right, time for some Star Wars books, and that's what the majority of this video is going to focus on. And, Star Wars comics in general are really down. There's no new content. People are kind of sick of all the crappy Star Wars stuff that's been, whether it's the news in terms of like insulting the fans, which the latest director of the new Rey sequel movie about the rise of the new Jedi Order that's going to be supposedly in production. The director came out with some kind of like incendiary comments, I guess. It's just kind of insulting to a lot of the fans. I thought it wasn't very well thought out in terms of how she presented the comments, and I don't think she meant to by any means, but I just think it came across the wrong way. And I don't know if that contributed to where comic books are right now, but I think it's more the bigger fact is that Disney content has not been that great. It's been very spotty in terms of the quality, and as a result, people are kind of like taking a step back in terms of their collectibles buying for Star Wars books. So I think now's a really good time, quite honestly, to be looking at some of the Star Wars books out there. This was Star Wars number 1 in a 9.8. Now, it did have off-white to white pages, so factor that in. It sold for $3,300 in an old case. So I think that you can do better than that, though, personally, if you're more patient, in an auction. So look at some of the other alternative websites like Comic Link or even Heritage or like Comic Connect. I think you can do a lot better than 3,300 with off-white to white pages. Here's another one that sold. This one had white pages and it was listed for $3,500. And I'm assuming it probably sold in that $3,300 range. This one had a newer label, newer case style, and it was white pages versus this one that sold in an auction with off-white to white pages for $3,300. So to me, this was a better deal because it probably got it in that $3,300 price point, but you got better page quality, same grade, and a newer case. So again, just be patient because there's no reason to overpay right now for Star Wars comics. The market is really kind of down right now. And I do think that now's a good time to pick up whatever your grail is in terms of CGC graded Star Wars books. And if you're not a 9.8 collector because the prices are too high, just adjust your budget accordingly for a 9.6, 9.4, whatever it is that you're looking for, because prices are down across the map no matter what the grade. Here was a 9.8 for Star Wars number 35. This is one I actually have two of. This is the first face-to-face meeting of Luke and Darth Vader in comics. It's a great cover. This is the direct edition, and it sold at an auction for $2.96, which I was surprised by because for the longest time, there was a newsstand of this book on My Comic Shop, and it was priced around the same price, and nobody bought it. I was tempted to get it just because I've got two direct editions, but I think the newsstand, they wanted $3.25 for it, and once you factor in sales taxes on eBay, that's about what this one went for. It went for $330 plus $16 shipping versus My Comic Shop where you don't have to pay sales taxes, and it was about the same price, and it was a newsstand 9.8 versus the direct edition. So whatever that's worth, this book seems to have bounced a little bit. It's a great cover. There's not many of them on the census, and I definitely recommend picking that one up. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting sale. Next up, I had two different sales for Star Wars number 42 in a 9.8 with white pages, direct edition. And this is obviously the first appearance of Boba Fett and Yoda in standard size comics. This one sold for $918, and then the same seller had a second copy that sold for $920. And that's well down, obviously. The newsstand edition of Star Wars 42 is selling for $1,300 to $1,500. The direct edition, don't pay over $950 right now. It's just way, way down. And you got to remember, this was going for like over $3,000 during the Book of Boba Fett. So now's a really good time to pick up Star Wars issue 42 in whatever grade you want. But in a 9.8 with white pages, it's going for about $920. Next up, we had Star Wars 43 in a newsstand edition. This is the first appearance of Lando in comics. And I was going to send this out to my Patreon supporters in a Buy It Now alert, but it didn't last. It sold in like 20 minutes. This was listed for $298, best offer accepted. Probably sold in that $275 range, maybe a little lower. But that's a good buy right now. This book was going for $375-ish in a newsstand, and the price has come back down to about $275 for Star Wars 43 in a newsstand, the first appearance of Lando Calrissian. Next up, I've got two different Heir to the Empire number ones that sold. Obviously, the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. The first is the direct edition in an auction, sold for $555. It keeps going down in price. It seems like people did not really enjoy the interpretation of Thrawn in the latest Ahsoka Disney Plus series. They did confirm that there is going to be a season 2 of Ahsoka. So hopefully they can do a little bit better with how they present Thrawn. I didn't like it either, to be honest with you. I thought his character was kind of milquetoast, just not very exciting, very mediocre, and not very... I don't think it was very true to the books, I guess. It was just, I feel like he made some tactical blunders as it related to his fight with Ahsoka and some of the other rebels, and I just felt like it was not a great interpretation. So hopefully they can show the genius that is Thrawn that comes out in the Timothy Zahn novels. But anyway, Heir to the Empire number 1 in a direct edition, 9.8 white pages, sold for $555. And then the newsstand edition also sold, and this is the one I bought. So I had this in my what to buy video, and then the more I started thinking about it was, you know what? The book is down right now. Nobody seems to care about Thrawn. I love Thrawn, and I want a newsstand edition because there's only 85 of them on the census. So I did put a bid in on this one, and I won it at $940. So this is the newsstand edition of Heir to the Empire #1. So I've got the direct edition and now the newsstand edition for Heir to the Empire #1 in a 9.8. And I was pretty happy with that $940 price point. Now, talk to me in 6 months. This book might be going for $700, $600, who knows? But I think given that there's only 85 9.8 newsstands on the census, it was too tempting to pass up. So I went ahead and put them on my PayPal credit. I'll figure out how to pay for it later, but I'm excited to get that one in, and I'm sure I'll show that in a video here soon. But very happy to get that one. Hopefully it arrives safe and sound. Next up, Clone Wars #1 in a 9.8. This book sold for $1,400, which is actually up a little bit. It kind of was going in that $1,100 to $1,200 range. It bounced a little bit up to $1,400, at least in this buy it now. I think if you're patient, though, and wait for an auction, you can probably get it closer to that $1,100 to $1,200 price point. And I actually think I could see that book getting sub $1,000. It wasn't that long ago that this book was going for $900 or so in like 2018, 2019. So I think if you're patient, to get the standard cover A in a 9.8, you can probably get it sub $1,000 in 3 to 6 months time frame. Next up, we have Star Wars Tales 23. This is the photo variant cover and the first comic book appearance of Darth Revan and Darth Malak in cameo. So this is the harder to find cover for Star Wars Tales 23. I have the painted cover for this one. I do not have this photo cover variant. I did not see this one get listed. Otherwise, I might have been tempted to bid on it. But this is a tougher one, and usually was selling in that $250 to $300 range. This one sold in an auction for $177.50. If they do anything with Revan and Malak, who knows? But now's a pretty good time to pick that one up because this one is harder to find versus the painted cover that I have. And going away from Star Wars books, we have Transformers #1 in a direct edition in a 9.8 with white pages. This one sold in an auction for $1,400, and that's actually up a little bit. It got down into like $1,150, $1,200 range. It bounced back up a little bit. This one did sell at $1,400, which is almost what I paid for it. It's right around what I paid for mine. I might have paid slightly higher, but once you factor in taxes and everything, it was actually more than what I paid for mine on Comic Link about 3 or 4 or 5 months ago. So I thought that was a pretty interesting sale, given that there's not really much going on in the Transformers universe right now, other than the new comic book series that I forgot the name of it now. It's a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover that's like the Energon universe. They're kind of trying to restart or reboot the Transformers and G.I. Joe universe into a combined universe. And so that new comic series is pretty popular, and maybe that's driving it a little bit. I don't know, but that one did sell for $1,400. Next up was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1 in a direct edition. This is the first comic book appearance of Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady, 3 big villains from the TMNT universe. This is a book I want to get. This is on my short list, and now's a pretty good time to do it. It did sell for $400. You might be able to get it for less than that in an auction, like $375-ish, but anywhere in that $375 to $425 range for the direct edition is a number I'm willing to pay. And that one's definitely one I like to get. I love the cover. 3 big first appearances of villains from the TMNT universe, 3 big ones. So I'd like to get that one for sure. Now let's move over and finish off with some Wolverine books. This was an awesome one that I was so tempted to bid on. This is Uncanny X-Men #142, signed by Chris Claremont in the direct edition 9.8 signature series. This is kind of the continuation of the Days of Future Past storyline that was started in X-Men 141. So a great cover with the Sentinel killing all of the future versions of the X-Men. I really wanted to bid on this one so bad, but I didn't. It sold at $417, which I thought was an absolute bargain. Very, very good deal on that one for a signed Chris Claremont version. Very, very nice book. Next up is the newsstand edition of X-Men 221. This is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. This was the newsstand, though. Very tough to find this one in a newsstand. It sold for $612. That is down. It was kind of going in that $900 to $1,000 range. So $612 is a good deal, I think, if you're looking for the newsstand. The directs are very easy to find for this book, but the newsstands are not. So I thought that was a really good deal. Next up is Hulk 340. This is the second fight between Hulk and Wolverine in comics. Pretty iconic Todd McFarlane cover. It's sold in a buy it now situation for $12.50, and that's about the going rate. I think you might get lucky in an auction and get it for $1,100, maybe in that $1,150 range, somewhere in there. But $12.50 seems to be about where they're going for a newer case style with like nice centering and nice colors. So $12.50 took that one home. Next up was a newsstand edition of New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. The newsstand, though, has been kind of selling in that $2,600 range. So I was really shocked to see this one sell in an auction for $3,000. That's the highest price I've seen for a newsstand in a while. They've been selling on Comic Link and Heritage for quite a bit less than that. So $3,000 is a big number. I would not pay that much. I think you can probably get this one if you're patient in that $2,600 range. But it's a nice book. Don't get me wrong. It had the brand new case style, newsstand edition, first appearance of Deadpool. Very tempting book, believe me, but I'm not paying $3,000 for it. Very nice. Finally, I've got Wolverine number 8 with a custom label. This is kind of like it's not a first appearance, but it's just kind of an iconic cover with Hulk as Joe Fixit and Wolverine as Patch, and they're kind of like just posed next to each other. This book has come down. It was kind of going in that $300 to $325 range. This one sold in an auction for $264. So that's a good price target to aim for the direct edition of Wolverine number 8. Great book. It's one I'd like to get, but it's kind of low priority just because it's pretty easy to find. So anyway, lots of different sales on eBay for different books across all different lines. I hope you enjoyed this look. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.